is Valley News Live at 4.
Good Wednesday afternoon, everyone. We've had some bumpy weather this weekend. There's another first alert weather day in the forecast. Let's head straight to meteorologist Nathan Hopper for the latest. Nathan.
Yeah, Stacy, still tracking for that potential for some strong to severe storms on our Thursday. For tonight, though, you can see satellite radar not too busy. Seeing one storm there near Bismarck, so we're keeping our eyes on that one, but I do expect our night tonight to be quiet. Then into tomorrow morning, though, that's when we do expect things to get a bit more intense, you could say, as the weather does look to be changing. We do have a marginal risk of severe weather. Notice that's that deeper green in our southern neighborhoods. Looks like the best chance of organized and widespread severe storms does look to be further toward the I-90 corridor from Rapid City through Sioux Falls, but we still could see some spotty severe with wind and hail as the primary concerns, mainly in Stutsman County, James River Valley, down through portions of the South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota tri-state area. So there it is, that first alert weather day for tomorrow. So here's what we can expect for that first alert weather day. So showers and storms most likely in the morning, which probably has the best atmosphere for seeing those stronger to severe storms in the early part of the day, in toward the middle part of the day, the lunchtime hour. A few storms are again possible later in the day for us on our Thursday, but I don't expect that to be as good of an atmosphere to be severe, we should say. The main threat, though, does look to be along and south of Highway 200 in that deeper green area. We did show you about just a few seconds ago. Wind and hail, of course, the primary concerns, but some localized heavy rainfall also possible with these storms as they're making their way through. So, of course, Stacy will break this down hour by hour style coming up here in just a few minutes.
All right. Thanks so much, Nathan. As debates over masks and vaccines mark the beginning of a new school year, one Minnesota family is opening up about their heartbreaking loss. Their 6-year-old died from COVID-19 complications. The Minnesota Department of Health says she's one of 3 children under the age of 19 to lose their life to the virus. Liz Collin traveled to Marshall, where the girl's family has struggled with questions and grief for months.
It crushed my heart about that moment.
With the help of an interpreter, he, Lars, his wife Mumu, and little Michael shared their loss.
So when that happened, it was so painful to go through.
The love of a child, a language easy to understand. Weekday had barely a month left of first grade, where they wore masks all year at Parkside Elementary in Marshall, where she adored drawing and dancing.
When she come home, she liked to talk about those things.
And when Day spiked a fever at the end of April. Her mom says after she didn't get better for a few days, she called 911.
She walked by herself to the ambulance.
But she says her daughter was checked out by a doctor and sent home.
The Friday afternoon, maybe Friday night, she went again to the emergency, but she walked by herself.
That's when Day was transferred to a hospital 90 minutes away in Sioux Falls.
The doctor over there said that she's gonna be okay. She's, will be awake. She's gonna be fine at that moment.
Sadly, she wasn't. She died 2 days later. COVID precautions kept them apart.
It was really sad because the child go with the hospital without parent. That was a really sad thing to him because he did not see the last moment, last breath of her daughter.
The family immigrated from a refugee camp in Thailand to Minnesota 5 years ago, never imagining a global pandemic would bring such pain to their new start. Believing a language barrier and lack of hospital interpreters made their daughter's final days even more difficult.
If they send our daughter in a hospital, they need to let them with the parent. That's what they want to say about it.
In Marshall, Liz Collin, WCCO 4 News.
Neither hospital involved in Day's care would comment, citing privacy laws. Despite their loss, the family still believes parents should feel okay sending their kids to school. A shakeup for the first day of school today in Wahpeton as mold has shut down an entire elementary school. There's a mold problem impacting air quality at Zimmerman Elementary. For now, the pre-K and kindergarten students are attending Wahpeton Elementary, which is typically for 1st through 5th graders. Valley News Live found out about the mold issue last week, but the school district has been evading our questions on the issue for the past 5 days. More on that, plus concerns from parents tonight on Valley News Live at 6. Masks are now required in all buildings owned by the city of Moorhead. Moorhead's Clay County and Fargo's Cass County are currently in the highest risk category, according to the CDC. The city of Moorhead says it will continue to follow CDC guidelines, which could change as the situation evolves. The Jamestown Regional Medical Center is once again restricting visitors. The president and CEO cites a 237% jump in North Dakota cases since August 1st, saying the restrictions will hopefully help keep patients and employees safe. Starting today, only one designated visitor is allowed per patient. No visitors are allowed in the emergency department. The only exceptions are for children, adults with special needs, and end-of-life care. Masks are required, and all events at JRMC are going back to virtual. Cheese curds and a vaccine. Minnesota is offering $100 gift cards for people who get their COVID shot at the state fair. The governor made that announcement today, the day before the Great Minnesota Get Together begins. The first 3,600 fairgoers who get their first dose of vaccine at the fair are eligible. Here's how it works. You can get your shot daily, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. at the North End Event Center. State fair tickets are required to enter the fairgrounds. Minnesota's Mystic Lake Casino is not requiring proof of vaccination for concert goers, but that policy could cause some problems for the upcoming Jonas Brothers concert on September 11th. Yesterday, the band announced they will require proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test at all their shows. Mystic Lake says it's aware of the Jonas Brothers announcement, but says the band's requirements don't align with their protocols. The U.S. has donated 500,000 COVID vaccines to Palestinians. They began giving vaccines in February, but the country ran out. Just 35% of eligible people have received the shots, and only 11% in Gaza. Both governments require public workers to be vaccinated, and officials at the U.S. Embassy say this donation will help close that gap. They hope to get 1 million doses of the Pfizer vaccine next month. The Biden administration says it's confident that the withdrawal from Afghanistan can be completed before the August 31st deadline, but others aren't so sure. As Skylar Henry reports, they're criticizing the president for not extending the timeline to make sure no one is left behind.
The military says it's doing everything it can to make sure every American and Afghan ally gets out of the country before the August 31st deadline.
90 flights total yesterday that left the Kabul airport. That is accounted for 19,000 evacuees now safely out of Afghanistan.
President Biden announced Tuesday that he will not be extending the deadline, but says he has asked the Pentagon and State Department for contingency plans if the withdrawal is not yet complete.
The completion by August 31st depends upon the Taliban continuing to cooperate and allow access to the airport for those who were transporting out.
The president says staying beyond the deadline would be dangerous for U.S. troops.
Every day we're on the ground is another day we know that ISIS-K is seeking to target the airport and attack both U.S. and allied forces and innocent civilians.
Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are criticizing the administration's handling of the withdrawal and questioning whether the U.S. can complete the operation of getting people out before the deadline.
And if we can't get them out, then what? What will happen to them?
Two congressmen, Democrat Seth Moulton and Republican Peter Meijer, made an unauthorized trip to Kabul Tuesday to see the situation for themselves.
Really? We're trying to get people out?
In a statement, they said because we started the evacuation so late that no matter what we do, we won't be able to get everyone out on time.
They're both veterans. They're both frustrated. They have an administration that won't tell them the answers to how many Americans are left, or those Afghans that actually probably worked with them and helped them.
The White House pushed back, saying we advise against any Americans, whether elected or not, attempting to travel to Kabul right now. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
Now, Representatives Moulton and Meijer say they flew on jump seats in the aircraft and didn't take any space away from evacuees. The Pentagon says it altered missions in Afghanistan in order to provide protection for the congressman. Summer vacation is officially over for many students in the Valley. This morning in Fargo, students were reminded not to forget masks for the first day of school. Students and staff that don't feel well are being asked to stay home. Administrators say disciplinary action may be taken for students who oppose the mask mandate. They add they're happy to be back in person or virtually.
It's extremely valuable, and I think the beauty of this school year in Fargo Public Schools, and even with what's happened legislatively in the state of North Dakota, is that we're able to offer a virtual learning environment for students that choose to do that, students or families, and we have some students that will thrive in that environment, but we also know that no two learners are the same, and some students will thrive in an in-person environment.
Now, one issue your child could start to deal with again is carrying around a heavy backpack. A pediatric physical therapist at Stanford tells us wearing a backpack incorrectly or one that's too heavy can contribute to muscle soreness, fatigue, and long-term pain. Your child's backpack should weigh no more than 10% of their weight, and the way you pack that bag can make a big difference.
The heaviest items in your backpack should be closest to your body. So I actually brought a laptop myself that is the first thing closest to my back. Then heavy textbooks would be next, and then like pencil pouches, like maybe like a sweatshirt, things like that can go a little further out, just so that we're keeping all the heavy things closest to your support.
And some things for parents to keep an eye out for. Difficulty when your kids are putting on or taking off their backpack, tingling or numbness in their arms or legs, red strap marks over their shoulders, or any change in posture. The Red River Zoo is getting ready for a new exhibit. We'll have that story and much more when Valley News Live at 4 continues.
Well, the school year is upon us already. For some folks, may have to put the old rain jacket on the kids there. Going out in the morning, 50s for those temperature showers, some rumbles of thunder. In the afternoon on the way home from school, still the chance of some showers, a few rumbles of thunder there as well. Highs tomorrow in the 60s and 70s. A first alert weather day for our Thursday. We'll break it all down for you next.